Ladies and gentlemen, this is 903 Sports. My goodness, boys, it's good to be back. It is football season. We've had a little bit of a time away from the pod world. Now we are back. There is a ton to talk about. We just had the first full weekend of NFL football. We just had our second weekend of college football. A lot of upsets on Saturday. Chaos. Week 2 already in college football. There's some kind of interesting things going on in the NFL after Sunday. You know, we can talk about the Bills, who looked really good Thursday night. The Rams did not look very good. The Patriots could be in a lot of trouble. And the Chiefs look better than ever. And we'll get into that. Let's start off, though. I want to start with winners and losers from the weekend. Cud, I will start with you. Give me 3 winners from this weekend.
In pros or college or both or what?
Just of the entire weekend, football altogether.
You know, I thought, that's interesting. I'd say Kentucky was definitely a winner. Florida got a bunch of hype after that big win against Utah because Utah was ranked, like 8 or 10. So I thought that was pretty big. Go in. I think that was a night game in the Swamp. That's a good win. Losers, man, there's about 5. So, I'll probably say my biggest loser is Nebraska because, whenever they hired Scott Frost was the top of the line as far as the coaches coming out of the free agency, what he was doing at UCF, and they've been pretty much terrible from the start. And they don't look like they're going to get any better now. So, used to be a big-time blue blood program, which I guess they still are, but, they got a long way to go. And I don't know who in the hell they're going to get at head coach now. I guess put an interim in the rest of the season and then get somebody else. But, yeah, I'd say those are my 2 biggest winners and losers.
Yeah, I think you got a good point. There's a lot more losers this weekend than there are winners. And in my opinion, the biggest loser, there's 2 biggest losers of the entire weekend. One is the Dallas Cowboys, whose season is over. There's only one NFL team every year that their season's over week 1. That's the New York Jets. Now this year, and it's the Jets and the Cowboys. We'll get into the Cowboys later. Dak Prescott's out 6 weeks. The Cowboys look terrible with him anyway. They're done. And it sucks for them because their division still is not very good. But, Dallas legitimately looked like a bot. They were the only team in the league to not score a touchdown last weekend. So there's one loser.
Good.
2, the Texas A&M Aggies. And I'm going to rip them apart here in a little bit. And Cut, I'm sorry. But, we heard all summer long about how A&M is number 1 recruiting class. This is their year. Who's your kind of dark horse to win the national championship outside of Bama, Ohio State, and Georgia? A&M is a popular pick. They can't even beat App State at home.
Well, to be fair.
No, to be fair, nothing.
You can't hold the whole recruiting class thing against him.
Yeah.
Because a football recruiting class doesn't ever really show up until 2-3 years later. So outside of that, I agree with you. But you can't say that, these true freshmen are supposed to come in here and win a national championship. That's ridiculous.
They're ranked number 6 in the country. So take the recruiting
You're
class.
Right.
All in the world. Just take that out. You're right. You come in at home, you only score 7 offensive points against App State, who gave up 63 at home in week 1 to North Carolina. That's embarrassing. Now,
that's bad.
They're looking ahead to Miami this weekend all they want to. A&M schedule coming up, got Miami, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Bama, in no order. They could be staring the odds of being 1-5 quickly. And all that Jimbo talk, Jimbo's seat's going to be scorching hot if A&M finishes this year 5-7. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. He could get run out of there just as quick as Dan Mullen got run out of Florida. Things can turn on you quickly. And then so I'll hold that for a little bit later. I got a lot more to say about A&M. And A&M fans, I love them. I know so many of them, but they're going to get it from here in a little bit. So A&M, Cowboys, another loser for me, and it's a bunch of them. Notre Dame, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. What were y'all doing this weekend? Wisconsin losing at home to Washington State, who's a bottom feeder Pac-12 team. Notre Dame may go 0-12. We thought, I love Marcus Freeman. I thought him should be higher.
Me too.
He lost the bowl game last year, blowing a 21-point lead. They get beat by Ohio State week 1. Played pretty good, respectable loss. Get beat at home by Marshall, who may be a pretty good mid-major team this year. They might be. They got the Texas Tech quarterback, Columbi. They may be a nice team. Notre Dame should not lose at home to Marshall. And then Nebraska. At home to Georgia Southern is a 23-point favorite. and now they fire their golden boy, Scott Frost. They could have waited 3 weeks and saved themselves $8 million. They went ahead and fired him already.
I didn't know that.
They wanted him out of there.
Whoa.
Can you imagine being hated so bad that they're going to spend $8 million just to get you out 3 weeks early?
By your alma mater. That's a big football for him. Well, he's been there 4 or 5 years now, and they've been horrible. And Nebraska football is terrible shape. So that's a rough week for them. So those would be my losers for the weekend. Did I give out winners?
No,
I don't think so.
just lose.
Sansom.
That's just losers.
Perfect.
Look at this.
That's great timing. So a winner from this weekend to me, and Trent, whenever he figures out technology, which he's terrible at, whenever he gets on, I'm going to say Texas is a winner from this weekend.
I agree.
I know he may not like it because they lost, and you never want a loser to be a winner. But who in the world had Texas going toe-to-toe with Alabama in that football game? Welcome aboard, Sansom. Right in time for some horns talk.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Trent.
Be technical difficulties for the next time.
Yeah, there's no way this works.
Good luck, Trentham. We wish you well.
Look at him. He's talking. No one can hear him.
I got Texas as a winner. I like the Buffalo Bills as a winner, too. You go into the Super Bowl champs, you turn the ball over times, and you beat them by 20.
There he is.
It is. Trentham, welcome aboard.
Hey, sorry, guys. I'm just getting out of church.
Sansom, I'm giving out my winners and losers from the weekend.
Okay, I can hear you.
One of my winners was Texas. I know you may not like that because they lost, but I thought that would be a winner from the weekend.
Yeah, well, no, I can't get on board with moral victories.
I know you can't. They were 21-point dog, and they were a blown safety call away from beating Alabama.
Yeah. No, don't be wrong. I'm happy with what I saw, but I mean, you're a 22-yard field goal away from winning the game. I mean, blown calls are going to happen every game. I'm not going to blame the blown calls on that.
Sansom, before I get, go ahead, Hunter. You can respond.
Well, I was just going to piggyback on that. I don't know if I'd call it a moral victory, but as a Texas fan, you should be encouraged. That's the first time I've watched Texas in years where they showed physicality and any sort of desire to try and hit a team in the mouth. And that you should be encouraged about that.
Whoa.
EKR was rocking this weekend.
Hey, what about some of those Tom Herman teams? They were physical.
Don't get me started.
They were physical.
Off the pod.
Garmin soft, those teams were.
No.
We get a couple of your winners and losers from the weekend before we start diving into some specifics.
Is that to me or Trent?
To you. Trent lost his privilege.
Yeah, okay. So I've got kind of the whole not the whole AFC, but the top of the AFC. We talked kind of toward the end of the spring there about how the AFC was definitely the better division with all the young quarterbacks, primarily Buffalo, Kansas City. And somehow those two teams came out and looked better than we thought they would. And I mean, I picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl, and I still stand by that. But I think Pat Mahomes kind of got wind that people were saying that his time has come and gone as the best quarterback in football. And he said, hey, still here. Don't forget about me. And he looked perfect. I mean, it was one of the best looking quarterback performances I've seen in a long time. So I've got those two teams as winners. And also the Philadelphia Eagles, not because of anything they did, but because of what the Cowboys didn't do. And like you said, Cameron, the rest of that division's garbage. So you can go ahead and just give it to Philly. So Philadelphia Eagles, first team in the playoffs.
Good for them.
Losers, I have obviously the Cowboys. I also have the Packers. They looked awful.
They did.
And
I was going to put them, I hate to interrupt you, I was going to put the Packers as well, but last year they looked awful week one. They got the doors blown off of by the Saints, and they turned it around. So I'm not going to hit on Aaron Rodgers yet.
That's true. I retract it. I'll tap the brakes.
His receivers are terrible.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
All right, couple more. So another winner, the Sun Belt Conference.
Oh, that was one of my winners. I forgot about that.
They looked incredible.
Sun Belt East.
You talk about heart and grit.
Oh,
and then kind of piggybacking on that, my last loser is that stupid yell leader who's going viral for A&M.
Oh,
I mean, that guy's never going to be able to show his face outside of College Station.
embarrassing for that.
Not only did they get beat, which, yeah, that looks bad, but he just did a bad job. Like, I've seen several of those speeches, and sometimes they're pretty good, clever, funny.
They're never.
This dude was like throwing shots, about being dumb and unintelligent. Like, come on, dude. What are you doing?
Look, I've been a midnight yell. The whole thing is, I can see the tradition. The little 1 minute segment of the guy getting up there and doing an almost the office level bad type roast is just dumb. Just I mean, so
Boom, roasted.
I forgot a loser, and then Trent, I'm gonna let you get in. Good call on the Sun Belt, Valley Hunter. That is a huge winner from the weekend. Good for those guys. A loser from this weekend is the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett, and Russell Wilson. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a second after I get Trent's winners and losers. 64-yard field goal? Really? 64 yards, national television. And another loser from that game, even though I don't think he played that bad, is Russell Wilson. This Russell Wilson-Pete Carroll split is just as nasty as Tom Brady-Bill Belichick split. It's just not getting as much media because they didn't win as many Super Bowls together. Their hug at the end of the game was very quick. I mean, it was not a long, hey, good to see you. Those guys are not on good terms, and that game meant a lot to both of them, and Russell Wilson came out as a loser. Trent, what are you doing? Are you doing jumping jacks right now?
I think he might be running from somebody. Is Trent okay?
He's still on mute.
He's probably –
No.
there.
So to get into the house right now, for some reason, the door in the garage won't open. So I got
This is riveting radio, by the way.
Why don't you
Just
start-
riveting.
Why don't you stop doing jumping jacks? Give me some winners and losers from this weekend.
So here, let me open this door. Let me put myself on mute because when I come to the door, Mimi's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, hi." So let me put myself on mute, and then I'll give you some winners here in a second.
You're worthless. All right, let's move on. We'll get back to Trent a little bit. So we were just talking about I want to talk about this first, is the Nathaniel Hackett incident. 4th and 5, you got 50 seconds to go, Monday night. And that's the most recent game, so I wanted to start off with that. And all the storylines coming in, Geno Smith first start with Seattle for the season, and then you got the whole Russell Wilson coming back to Seattle, the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, all that. And it's not a very good game. 17-16, Geno's played well. Second half, Broncos keep fumbling the ball, throwing up on themselves. You're driving down the field, 4th and 5, you get 3 timeouts, 50 seconds. And they just let the clock run down to 20 seconds and then settle for a 64-yard kick where there's only been 2 in the history of the league. You got a quarterback that you're paying $275 million to, and you're not going to trust him to get you 5 yards. You're going to put your hands in your kicker. And look, Brandon McManus, no knock against him. He's one of the best kickers on planet.
He almost made it.
He almost made it. And he's made a couple 60-yarders in his career. But you are paying Russell Wilson to make that play. Get you another 10, 15 yards. You got 50 seconds. That's a ton of time in the NFL. So I thought, and as your first game as head coach on national television, you pull that, that's going to be hard to recover from. They're going to have to win a lot of games to really get the stink of that. Because that division with the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chiefs, and Chargers, there is no room for error. You do not have room to go out and lose a game like that to a not good Seattle team at all. And props to my man Geno, he played well. That Seattle team is going to win 5 games this year. You can't afford. I mean, if Denver goes 9-8, that one game could cost them a playoff spot. And Russell Wilson running out of years. He ain't got 10 years left. He's got 4 or 5 max. So I thought that was pretty bad. God, I'd like to get your thoughts on what happened Monday night. I know you weren't very happy with Denver on Monday.
No, I was not happy with Denver. They're on the bottom shelf.
On the list.
But yeah, I mean, the whole situation, not just in the game, but like leading up to this season, they make a big offseason trade, get a big time superstar, top receiver for the last however many 10 years, to get a quarterback like that in, obviously teams make those big type of trades to make a run at the whole deal, which, let's pump the brakes on that. I mean, it's game 1, but still, like you go get a guy like that, 4 plays and drives for that in that situation. And to do that was just a disaster. I don't know if y'all saw the, Peyton and Eli show whenever, how the game, they're watching the show, and Peyton's immediately like, timeout, let's talk this over. And they're like, oh my God, it's 30 seconds left. And then they're like, wow, they call a timeout right there at the end. What was that for? I mean, the whole thing was a disaster. And I saw something actually today that I think it was some analyst was saying that Russell Wilson actually doesn't have the power to call a timeout in that situation, which I thought was an outlandish take. I mean, he should have been running that entire drive. You could tell right there at the beginning, they kind of got in the huddle and he was kind of looking around. Like I thought he was about to call a timeout then, but he just didn't. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was first game, him and, new head coach, new system. Maybe they weren't on the same page in that situation. I don't know. But yeah, that was a complete and utter disaster. But like you said, hell, after all that cluster, they still nearly made that kick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it was a knock to Brandon McManus, but I mean, that whole final minute was just a big question mark.
And we've lost Trent. Trent, thanks for coming out, pal. Yeah, no, cut. I agree. Nick Manus is not a knock against him, but now Trent's back. Good gracious. But I don't know, man. That's a really bad look. And I can tell you 2 guys right now that are calling timeout right there. Yeah, that's Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
They're calling timeout there. I don't care who's coaching them. Russell Wilson has that power.
Yeah.
Very few guys in the world that have it. Russell Wilson has it. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's his team. They're paying him all that money. He should have the power to call timeout in that situation. And there was just a lot of confusion. And Hackett, man, that's a tough look. That's going to be tough to bounce back from. So what do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just going to be tough to bounce back from. And it's a detriment that it is his first game, but I almost think that might be a positive. It's kind of, you bogey the first hole where you got 17 of them to make it back. It's one of those situations.
Quad.
Yeah, okay, so we just made a double. But if you're going to make a double, you want it to be on the first hole where you have a lot of time to make it back up if you have the weapons that they have. Now, if you're the Cowboys, you don't want to double the first hole because you can't bounce back. You don't have the talent to bounce back like Denver does. But, I mean, I kind of back those guys to go on a run and make some progress and make up for this bad loss. But no, I mean, obviously it's a bad look as your first game as a head coach with a big money quarterback to take the ball out of his hands. Yeah, that's stupid. That's idiotic. But hopefully he'll learn from it. Like I said, he's got plenty of time to do it and plenty of weapons to turn the season around. So let's not just throw in the towel yet. But yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's not like you have Joe Flacco back there at QB. I mean, you got Russell.
Yeah, can you imagine having Joe Flacco as your quarterback or Cooper Rush?
Pray for the people that are fans of a team with Joe Flacco, 38-year-old Flacco as their quarterback. Anyway, speaking of Cooper Rush, speaking of Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, like I mentioned earlier, are in a lot of trouble. And I saw a stat about 3 weeks for the season started maybe, and it said the Cowboys have not made the playoffs in back-to-back years in like 14 years or something like that, 15 years. So that was a big red flag. It was like, ooh, Dallas could be in trouble. But the more I thought about it, I was like, look, they got to beat Washington. Carson Wentz is the worst QB in the league. The Giants are going to be terrible. And then Philly's going to be decent. So, I mean, 9-8 should probably get them in. 10-7, they should be able to do that on that schedule. Dak looked terrible Sunday. The offense looked terrible. They don't have any weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb. And the run game, to Zeke's credit, got off to a great start, and they quit running the ball. The defense played outstanding. I mean, I don't know how good Tampa is yet because they didn't look that good either, to be honest. It was 19-3. It was a pretty ugly game. Kicked 6 field goals. Man, and then you get Dak hurt after all that. Now you got to roll out Cooper Rush at QB. So, Hunter, let me ask you this. I mean, we all agree Dallas is in massive trouble week 1. And what do they do at quarterback? You roll out Cooper Rush for 6 weeks, hope he picks up 2 wins. You called the Niners for Jimmy G. You give Phillip Rivers a call with all his 27 kids, see if he wants to come out and play football again.
So I haven't talked to you guys about this. So I may be totally the only one on my own here. But no, I don't think you do anything. I think you just stick with what you got. In my mind, the season's over anyway. If you bring in Jimmy G, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, I don't care who it is, you bring them in, the season's still over. Like you're not going to bring in a quarterback, learn a whole new system and get any more wins than Cooper Rush will. And here's the thing, the next few games are either against really solid teams or really garbage teams.
Right.
So where, a little step up in quarterback play is probably not going to win against, I've got the schedule here. The Bengals coming off that bad week, they're going to come out with a vengeance. We stand no chance. But then we get the Giants and the Commanders, didn't say Redskins, the Commanders, and I could beat those teams as quarterback. If Cooper Rush can't win those games, I mean, what are we doing? So I think my point is, I don't think going out and getting a quarterback, even if we could pull something off like that, would really provide any sort of value in the short term. And I'm assuming y'all saw today where they said they're not going to put Dak on IR, which I think is stupid. But, there's a chance he's going to be back in 4 or 5 games. And so if he's – I I still think the season's over. I'm kind of talking like I don't, but I think the season's over. So why make a move and give up capital in a trade if the season's still over?
There's no options. There's
Yeah.
no one. You don't want to get Jimmy G because Dak's your guy. I mean, that's not going to do you any good.
Yeah, and Trey Lance didn't look like a world beater this week. Now they played in a monsoon.
They're
but-
going to Jimmy G around.
Mhm.
So let me just go off topic for 1 second. Mark Matthias is the best player in Major League Baseball.
What did he just do?
RBI single, 5-1 rags after a 430-foot bomb from Marcus Semien.
Wait, how'd we get Simeon hit a home run?
3-run, 430-foot.
You stop bad mouthing him right now, Bob.
No, but all I'm
He's
saying,
the best. He's the best second baseman in the history of this franchise.
Matthias is a dog. Anyway, so we'll get back on track. So the Cowboys, and that's funny because, you know, this is our first pod back in 4 or 5 months. One of our first pods, we started off talking about Cowboys are in trouble. Oh, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Good. So what do you think about this, about the Cowboys? And what do they do next?
You know, I think I agree with Hunter 100%. We don't do anything. We roll Cooper Rush out and hope Dak comes back in 4 or 5 weeks, and then hope that when he comes back, we're like 2-2, 2-3, something like that. Where not all hope is lost as far as making some sort of playoff run. Which even if we do, we're not going very far anyways. But you know, I'd still like to see us be competitive and, you know, make a run. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't expect Dallas to win that game anyway. I knew that they were going to be covering CD. They were going to make someone else beat us on offense. And they already have a great defense anyway. So I knew that it was probably going to be pretty slow as far as Dallas offense goes. But, you know, I hated the way we ended up actually playing. And then Dak getting hurt was just the cherry on top. I mean, that was terrible. Ruined a great performance by the defense. You hold Tom Brady and company to 1 touchdown. I mean, that's all you're asking for, you know. So I mean, it was tough the way it unfolded, but yeah, I think when you roll out Cooper Rush, you can't. Yeah, Jimmy G, that's just all that media talk. You can't do that. I mean, Dak's our guy. You know, what were you going to win 1 game with Jimmy G and then just sit on the bench? You know, I mean, that doesn't do anything. So, but yeah, it was unfortunate. But yeah, I think we roll Cooper Rush out and hope Dak comes back in some short amount of time and not 8 or 9 weeks instead of.
I agree.
So I think that's all we can do, really.
No when to hold them.
You know what they say, boys. You know what they say. Misery loves company. Season's over in September. My NFL season's over week 2 every year. So join
Is
the
it
club.
basketball season yet?
No.
The Saturday still means something for some of us on this pod. And Baylor's not dead yet either. We'll get to college football in a little bit, but Saturdays are lovely. Now, Sundays, outside of being the Lord's Day, football on Sundays is not good. Not good at all. So I want to talk about a few more NFL, and let's get to talking some college because I know Sanson's itching to talk about Saturday college football. So Hunter, let me ask you this. You got any surprises from the weekend? Anybody surprise you? Like I was surprised that the Vikings looked really good this weekend.
Yes. I've got them. Not really anything else to say. They just look really good, which they should. They have Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and Adam Thielen. They better look good. I mean, Kirk Cousins is not Peyton Manning, but you know, he's no Cooper Rush either, right? He's the R in wins above replacement. Like, he puts the R in war. Like, he should look really good with those sort of weapons, I guess. But yeah, so I've got Joe Burrow. He did not look good. Now, he did throw the ball 53 times. And usually when you throw the ball 53 times, you're going to throw it to the wrong team a couple times. So maybe it's a little bit of the play calling, although Joe Mixon had 27 rushes. So it's not like they didn't run the ball at all. They just ran a lot of plays because it was a long game. I was surprised he turned the ball over, 5 times? That's not good.
Almost all of it was in the first half. I think he had 4 turnovers first half.
Yeah, that's surprising. Maybe a little bit of the Super Bowl hangover. And then I kind of alluded to this earlier, but somehow the Bills looked better than I thought they would. Like I literally picked them to win the Super Bowl, and they still looked better than I thought they could. I mean, they look incredible. I can't wait for the Chiefs and Bills to play. It's gonna be great.
4 turnovers for the Bills, and they beat the defending champs in their place by 21. They should have beat them by 2. I mean, that game was really never close after the first quarter. So I was mostly surprised, honestly, by the Rams and how bad they look. I think Stafford's hurt. They talked all year about his elbow.
Yeah.
He didn't look very good. Rams are
Well, and to be fair, the Rams were not world beaters last year until the playoffs. It's not like we were going into the playoffs thinking, man, you got to watch those Rams. They're the team to beat. They just kind of kept scraping by and winning football games, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Sometimes that just happens, and it doesn't carry over the next year.
it all came together for them at the right time, which is normally what has to happen if you want to win a Super Bowl. I would also say another surprise. And I know it's weird to say, but I was surprised at how good the Chiefs look. Now, they lost their weapon on offense, Tyreek Hill, and they look like they got better. And they only 5 points on a possible playoff team in Arizona. And that game was over in the first quarter. And Pat Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns, like 30 for 39. He was almost flawless in that game. The Chiefs look outstanding. And I will say this, probably the two biggest surprises of the weekend, Chicago Bears. I know they played in a lake. They beat San Fran 19-10, bottom feeder team last year. Niners are supposed to be one of the best teams in the league. And the Giants going to Tennessee and winning 21-20. Makes me sick as a Jets fan to watch these bottom feeders go out and win week 1. But I mean, hey, good for those two teams. And the Giants had a 13-point comeback second half and won, and then the Bears beating the Niners.
Is Saquon back?
Saquon had like 170 yards on something.
Yeah, he had a great game.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he's back to his old ways?
I don't know.
Stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy, he can. And that's kind of the whole deal with him. I still don't think the Giants are going to be very good. I don't think the Bears are going to be very good. But good for them getting a week 1 win. So I want to talk about one other team. We're going to jump on Bama here in a little bit. And, the two teams kind of synonymous with dynasties of our lifetime are the Patriots and Bama. Hunter, are the Patriots done? They were knocking on the door of it last year, stuck in the playoffs and got the doors blown off of them by the Bills in the first game. They looked awful Sunday. They looked as bad as the Jets and the Cowboys. They scored 7 points against a mediocre Miami team. Not a great start.
No, it's kind of funny. So I feel like the Patriots have kind of always gotten praise for doing a lot with a little. Like they never really had the best roster. I mean, obviously they had Tom Brady, who's the best quarterback ever. But outside of that, we were just talking about how the Vikings have all these weapons. I don't know if we've ever had that conversation about the Patriots and Tom Brady. He never had that many weapons. They just Belichick was just always praised as this mastermind of how to scheme and how to put a team together that nobody else really wanted. And now it seems like that's just kind of finally caught up to them. I mean, they have nobody. No one. I mean, who's going to make a play? Mac Jones? I mean, he's all right. He's like Kirk Cousins. He's average, right? You put weapons around Mac Jones, he's going to perform well. If he doesn't have weapons, he's not going to lift the team out of mediocrity, which it kind of seems like that's where they are, which is really weird to say about a Belichick team.
Yeah, I don't think the Patriots are going to be horrible this year, but I think they may be a 7 or 8 win team, and that's not a playoff team.
Yeah,
that's not what you expect from the Patriots.
I would take the under on 7.5.
It'd be right there. They get to play the Jets twice, so there's 2 wins.
Hey, I bet the Jets beat them once this year.
I would love it. I'd go 2-15 if we just beat them once this year. No,
well, I think you're going 2-15 anyway. So
yeah, that's true. Especially if we keep one Flacco. Nonetheless, forget about that. So, all right, let's move off NFL. Cut. I want to get your Cuds. Who the hell are you this week? And we'll talk some college football with Sanson.
This was tough because there was quite a few nominees, not going to lie. But who I landed on wasn't this last weekend. It was the week before, and it's Brian freaking Kelly. First game, at LSU, massive program. We all know how those LSU fans are, and they love their ball. I mean, and playing a Florida State team who has been in the complete dumpster for years. I mean, LSU hadn't been good since their championship either, but still, I mean, like a big time, fairly big time coach, Sonny, where'd they play? Did they play in Atlanta?
They were playing in New Orleans.
Okay, yeah, in New Orleans. So it's a home game.
Their next door neighbor.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a home game, and they looked horrible. And, and how that game unfolded as far as they were lucky to even get that fumble. Not only were they lucky to get that fumble, but then go 99 yards with, I can't even remember how much time's left. And then they score and all that chaos, and then the field goal extra point gets blocked. I mean, I thought that was just a horrible showing first first come out with a coach like that at that big a program. And then the way I don't know if y'all watched that game, but literally the camera was on him and he looked no emotion. Like I don't know what his deal was, but the whole game just rubbed me wrong. And yeah, it was just a bad look.
To me, he had the look of, holy smokes, I'm not at Notre Dame anymore. Like kind of look.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
here we go.
But then he smarted off to that reporter the next day.
Yeah. That was too funny.
But I'm gonna piggyback and just add to who the hell are you? All kickers should be who the hell are you? That was one of the worst kicking weekends, Saturday and Sunday. If your name is not Cade York, the Browns kicker, made that 58-yard bomb, kickers, who the hell are you? Because that was a disgrace. All from 11 o'clock Saturday all the way through the Sunday night game. I mean, it was just a mess.
Yeah.
And college, I get it. NFL, the Randy Bullock missing a 44-yard kick. Screw you, Randy Bullock. You cost me my eliminator. I'm out week 1 for the in a row. I'm listening to the game on the radio and he's lining it up. I said, I know he's going to miss. And of course he missed.
That's incredible. Cut, are you still alive?
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Who'd you pick?
Ravens week 1.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I can't pick against home. I'm handcuffed in the eliminator. I just can't do it. So yeah, kickers, just pathetic performance. And Hunter, I know you agree. Baylor, BYU missing 35-yarders left and right.
That was pitiful, man. I was up till 2 a.m. watching those guys miss 35-yard field goals.
Oh man, that game was brutal.
Bad.
All right, so let's get on to college football. Santo, I want to get your winners and losers from the college football weekend, and then we'll dive.
The biggest winner to me was the Sun Belt East. You got Marshall winning, Georgia Southern winning, App State winning. The cool thing is that whenever we go to a 12-team playoff, is Sun Belt, that may be your group of 5 getting in.
Yeah,
I mean, them boys playing so good, they might have got a second team in.
Hold on now. Hold on.
The bowl projection, CBS guy had Marshall playing in the Cotton Bowl, so they must be pretty good.
Oh, my.
No, Marshall's going to be a squad. I'm telling you, Marshall's going to be a squad.
Y'all know those bowl games mean a lot, too.
Then App State and Louisiana. Hey, guess who has the longest winning streak in college football right now?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's the Raging Cajuns, baby.
Oh, yeah.
From the Sun Belt.
They lost to Texas.
Yeah.
Let me piggyback on that point about the playoff. You know who's a loser this weekend?
Who's that?
Hunter Shattuck is a loser this weekend.
Oh, bull.
Not wanting the playoff expanded.
All these
big boys going down. Wouldn't happen. 14 playoff. What a trend.
Can I have a minute to defend myself here?
Go ahead.
This is fake news. All right. Oh. I literally wrote a whole article about how I wanted the playoff expanded last year. So
you hate fun. You want
okay. Look, I'm going to present my case.
On the back that says BCS. BC.
Look, all right. I'm going to present my case. When I think about what I want in the postseason, I want to see the correct amount of teams. When the season starts, I want every team to know that if they do their job, they can win a national championship, right? And that's not how it's been in college football forever. If Marshall wins every single game, wins their conference, they can't win a national championship under this current setup. They can't do it.
Only sport in the world is like that.
Exactly. Now, where I get on the no fun side is when you let too many teams in, teams that really have no business competing for a championship. And the only time I'm a hypocrite is college basketball because the tournament is great. Now, there are a lot of teams in the tournament that don't deserve to be there, but it's still great. So that's all right. But I think college football, every team, if they take care of business, should deserve a chance to win a national championship. That's the way I think about it.
No, I agree.
So get out of here with this whole, I don't want the playoff expanded. It is on paper on our website, dadgummit.
All right. Anyway, Trent, I'll let you get back to your.
Okay. So Sun Belt East, that's your biggest winner. Your second winner, I want to say Texas, but I can't because they lost Quinn Ewers. So, yeah, you played great, but you lost your dog.
That's true.
I love the way Hudson Card played, but, I mean, until he does it in another game, he just hasn't looked right since Arkansas last year.
How many times has he been benched, Trent? 3?
Oh, last year he got benched against Arkansas, and then he came out, and when Casey Thompson shouldn't have been playing, and he was playing so bad that they had to play Casey Thompson hurt. Mm-hmm. So,
there's a
Hudson
reason
Card had some dog in him to go out and do it, keep us in the game with Bama. And if he can look like that and heal his ankle,
Because there's
Here's the
a
thing.
throw he clearly missed because he couldn't play on that foot.
Do you
But
remember the
outside that,
last
he had a
time?
good game.
You remember the last time Texas had a backup quarterback come back and almost beat Bama? That was Garrett Gilbert, and he
no.
turned out to be a hot pile of garbage. So just because you come
Which
back
I
and
have a hot take on that. I think I've come around to think that we made Garrett Gilbert bad that second year because we changed our whole offensive scheme. Bama beat us. and
we
so
don't
then
need to
Mac Brown has
relitigate
this
the
wise
2010
idea.
Texas Longhorns.
Yeah. The only good thing we did that year was beat Nebraska. That's the only good thing we did that year in Nebraska. But no, so you got your Sun Belt East, Texas semi is a winner, and then probably USC, honestly. Those are my three winners. USC's looking good. When they blow the doors off of Fresno by 21, you're going to be shaking your head, Brown.
I agree with you. I just hate it.
Why?
Can I nominate BYU?
Around and I can't stand USC.
Yeah, but, I mean, I hate California teams, but the thing is, we need a good team out west, man. Outside of Oregon and Utah, they don't do
Just
it.
for recruiting balance.
I don't give a damn about any football out west.
I don't either, but I'm just saying it makes the sport good. Like, think about Miami. You think I care about Miami? But the sport's better when Miami's good. The sport's better when Florida State's good.
You can't have the SEC recruiting out of California. You need USC, UCLA, and Oregon getting the kids from Hawaii and California.
That's exactly right. You want to see balance across college football? You start doing let Lincoln Riley set up some fences around California and keep all them California
just like
boys
it
there.
used to be when Pete Carroll was there.
Bama and Georgia get a ton of those Cali kids.
Yep.
Just like they were getting a ton of Texas kids. Texas and A&M the last 2 years have done a good job of sealing everybody off.
You think Tua Tagovailoa would have gone to Alabama in 2005? Absolutely not. He would be at USC like that.
Yeah.
Hey, what about my Oregon State Beavs on the West Coast, Sansom?
They're carrying them.
Ain't
need some help.
More grit than those Beavers out west.
That's another winner. How about Oregon State coming back?
How about those Beavers? I told you.
I can't believe I'm ashamed of myself. I saw that score. They scored with 50 seconds left, or maybe a minute and 3 seconds left. Fresno State did, and so I was like, well, that I lost that game because I picked them in my office pool and everything else, and I was like, well, let me go watch this Baylor BYU game. And then the next morning I wake up and I said, oh my gosh, they came back and won it.
No one's got more heart and more grit than the Beavers out west.
That's right. You look up grit, you see Chase Nolan.
See a beaver running around on Merriam-Webster's dictionary.
That's right. Sawn Wood.
Oh, all right. No one cares about the Beavers.
All right, my loss here. Let me give you a couple losers.
There's one massive
order. Here's some losers in order right here. Aggie, probably the biggest loser of the weekend. Notre Dame is second, and then Nebraska, and then Wisconsin.
Poor Nebraska.
Nebraska, I don't know what you're ever going to do.
They're never going to figure it out.
They're never going to be the same again.
You don't know what their only hope is because there's, you got UCLA and USC eventually going to the Big Ten. You got Texas and OU eventually going to the SEC. The only thing I can see is that some of these coaches are starting to take note. If you want to play with the big boys, you're going to the Big Ten or you're going to the SEC. So maybe a Dave Aranda, Hunter, maybe going out to Nebraska.
I've seen that rumored. He wouldn't leave Baylor for Nebraska. That's career suicide.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, here I think expanding the playoff.
Maybe Matt Rule comes back and he goes to Nebraska.
Matt Rule, I could see. Matt Rule's kind of sucks. But here's the thing
about
in
college.
5 years ago, what coach was hotter in college football than Scott Frost? Everybody would. Huh? Nobody. I mean, he took a winless UCF team to undefeated team. Now his career's dead. Dead as Kevin Sumlin's and Charlie Strong's.
Whoa.
Now he'll be a sideline reporter next to Tom Herman before you know it.
No, gosh. Speaking of, that'll be a name. I'm telling you, Tom Herman may go to Nebraska, and he'd be the perfect fit. You tell me he wouldn't be a good fit. He'd be a good fit.
Talk about Tom Herman on this pod.
I'll find you somebody that loves you the way Trent loves Tom Herman.
No, I just don't understand the hate. Tom Herman, talk about toughness a while ago when I called you on the phone. Hey, we beat Georgia with that team. Georgia.
The biggest douchebag in the world, Sansom.
That may be true, but sometimes douchebags can coach football.
Speaking of douchebags, just talk
Lincoln
about
Riley, for one.
Nick Saban in Alabama. You could make an argument that they could be a loser from the weekend, too. 21 points playing Texas, playing a backup QB at Texas. And no, this is what great teams do. They win these games, to Coach's credit. I mean, that's why Bama's Bama. They played horrible and found a way to win. But Bama's a little bit more. Of course, Trent leaves, and this is mainly what I want to talk to him about. This, I mean, look, Bama's a little more vulnerable than I thought they were. Cut, I'll let you speak. I know I haven't talked to you hardly at all about this game this weekend. So, are you worried at all? I know you're probably going to say no, but I mean, I was shocked most of that game. Really was.
Yeah. So what I told Trent on the phone this week, he called me. We talked about the game. But what I told him is, if you really look at the last 5 years of the big time game that we had away, we struggled in every one of those games. We struggled last year, obviously, against A&M, and then I'll probably mix up my order here, but we struggled against Florida in that SEC championship. We struggled against Mississippi State and Ole Miss. So I mean, it didn't. Honestly, I didn't think we were gonna really blow them out. Honestly, I thought it'd be a good game, but I didn't expect to win by one. But I mean, looking at that whole game, I mean, from the very start, man, I've never seen us play that sloppy in my life. Not only with the penalties, Bryce was missing throws. We had a bunch of drop passes as well. I mean, it was just we were playing pretty bad. And to Texas's defense, credit, they were playing good too. So with that combination, it looked pretty rough from the start. And then when Jace McClellan got that long run, I was like, okay, that'll jumpstart us here, but it really didn't. That was just a big play that we got. But no, it was a damn war, and between, I think, as sloppy as we played and, we all playing good as well, that it ended up being that close. But yeah, I thought it was a good game.
Say what? Go ahead, Trent.
Well, I don't know if I'd call Alabama a loser, because I'm telling you, if you want to take a winner for this weekend, you take Alabama and just lay the points. They're going to kill Monroe. They're going to beat them by 60.
What a horrible week to be a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk.
Oh,
terrible.
I pity those fools.
Yeah, that's a good point, Trent. Is not really. I don't really care about Monroe. Just sad for them because they follow on the week after. But
I just hope nobody has life-changing injuries on Monroe.
Yeah, I think every great team needs to have a good test.
Yes.
And to have a good game, a good opponent on the road was good for this team. And thankfully we actually won the game. But I think that's big going forward. I'm not worried about the rest of the season. I think that just makes us better. But I told Trent what I'm still worried about our offense is, last year we had 2 first-round draft picks that are amazing athletes, John Mechie and Jamison Williams, that we could literally at any point of the game, we could say, okay, we're going to throw you the ball right here, and there's just nothing you can do about it. We had that option. Right now, we don't have that go-to wide receiver right now that's just going to say, hey, I'm about to beat you right here, and there's nothing you can do about it.
When's the last time that was the case, too? I mean, you have a program that has spit out wide receivers for the last team.
Yeah, so, I'm anxious to see really as the season unfolds who's gonna step up and say, hey, I'm the guy on, for the wide receiver wise for Bryce Young, because, someone's gonna have to be that dude, So I'm anxious to see how it unfolds. But thank God we survived, because I would have never survived if we lost that game. I know too many Longhorns. I would have been in the ditch.
Yeah, that would have been rough. But no, I think Alabama. I think they have a concern at wide receiver and honestly even running back. Man.
Yeah.
They had a hard time last year. I feel like getting the run going. But I think y'all will figure it out. Like you said, I think it's a good wake-up call. I mean, to me, the best team ever in college football, I'm biased, was the 2004-2005 Texas Longhorns. And we played Kansas on the road. And they weren't Kansas like they are Kansas now.
Right.
But Vince Young had to go – what's that?
2005-2006.
Sorry, 2005-2006, yes. Good catch, Hunter. 2005-2006 Longhorns. And they had to go on the road against Kansas, who at that time was actually a decent ball club. They weren't I think they're going to be better than they were ever in the last 10 years this year. But they're not the laughing stock that they have been. Anyways, Texas had to go on the road, and Vince Young had to convert a 4th and 18 with his feet to even win that game.
Hey,
So,
that
I mean, you
same
have
season,
games like that on the road where it's like, look, you just don't play your best game. The other team plays a great game, and you're count your blessings to get out with a win, even if it's just 1 point.
That's when it's tough to be the best team in the country. You're going to get that. You're going to get the
Every
other
game.
best shot every time you play 'em.
You're gonna get the rowdiest fan. Whoever that team they're playing, their fan base will be as rowdy as it ever is that night or that day.
Oh man, that place was rocking Saturday afternoon. That was crazy. But I'm just saying, I know it's early, and that's probably good for Bama that is early, but they looked vulnerable. I thought they were going to stomp everybody this year. And me and Trevor were talking about this the other day. Football season may be a little more open than we thought it would be. I thought it's Bama, Georgia, Ohio State. Let's just get to the end of the season. Maybe not now. Ohio State hadn't looked very good. They barely beat Notre Dame, who's obviously terrible. They were struggling with Arkansas State's moving the ball Saturday. Georgia beat the doors off of Oregon, and they played a cream puff last week. And then, Bama struggled against Texas last week. So maybe it's more open than we thought, which would be good for once. Maybe
That'd
this
be awesome.
year. What year was that? 2007, that crazy year of college football where West Virginia was really good. They lost the last year game to Pitt. And I mean, that chaos year.
Kansas won the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, where Kansas and Missouri played the championship and winners has a chance to win the Natty kind of thing. That year, that'd be cool. But I don't know. I watched most of that Texas game, Bama game with my mouth wide open, like, holy smokes, Texas might actually beat this team. And I know Cud was sweating, and I know Trent was sweating. I mean, that was cool. That was and there's nothing better in college football than a big time field game like that was fourth quarter. That was awesome. And it's a tough look for guys like Hunter that say college football is not fun to watch. Isn't that right, Trent?
That's tough.
I have apologized. I was caught up in the emotion of the Georgia-Oregon game. Okay. It was an emotional time for me. I was sad. I have apologized.
That game was a joke. Okay, let's move on. Speaking of jokes, I want to talk about some of the teams that got beat this weekend. And so I'm watching all these games at a bar. Tennessee's in a war with Pitt, and we're up at the time. And A&M just lost to App State, and I am just crying, laughing. And then I'm like, hold on a second, Brownie. We could lose this game. Let's not just yet. Now it's my time. And I mentioned it earlier. And look, I love so many A&M people, Cud's family, the Woffords, Bing, all of them, G-Dub. Love them all. And A&M's defense is probably a top 5 defense in college football. Anaya Smith's a great player. A-Chain's a great player. A-Chain returning that kick, I thought, okay, they're going to get it. A&M's biggest problem right now, one, is Jimbo Fisher's offense. And it was killing at Florida State. It's ancient. It's too I don't understand. There's too much going on in that offense for these college kids, and it's outdated, and it wasn't working at Florida State after Jameis Winston left, and it ain't working out at A&M. And you're wasting a lot of NFL talent on that defense. And the second problem is Haynes King is not very good. I watched most of the Sam Houston game with A&M. He looked awful, and that's against an FCS team. You turn around, you can't move the ball, and App State's probably got the worst defense in college football. One of. Just gave 63 points at home, North Carolina, in regulation. So like that was an overtime game. That's embarrassing. So, and I know A&M's got all these 5-star QBs and all these other guys coming out. Don't be surprised if Max Johnson gets the reins this weekend against Miami. And they're in trouble in College Station with the schedule they got coming up. That Jimbo hot seat talk may be heating up pretty quick. I'm telling you, just like the damn on at Florida.
Yeah, well, but that's different though, man.
What'd you say, Trent?
Jimbo. I mean, some of them old guys out there in College Station who are big Aggies can maybe buy him out. But you realize what his contract? If you had to buy him out, you realize what you're spending?
What?
$100 million.
What if they go
North of $80 million.
It's $89 million if they fired him like right now.
What if A&M's sitting at 1-5 after this gauntlet of schedule they got to go through?
Look, one thing that I do admire about Aggie is it's only one thing. Well, two things. The university in itself produces some good people, a lot of good people I know. The second thing they do that I really admire is they might be as crazy to buy him out at 89. If he goes 1-5, no other university, Texas ain't doing that. I don't know any other university that would do that other than Aggie. because they want to win so bad. So
My thing is, if you fire him, who are you going to replace with him? I mean,
I would honestly, it would make me so, I would literally cry if somebody like Matt Rule went there. I would cry.
What about
just
Tom
like-
Herman?
If Tom Herman went, I would cry. Let me tell you.
You imagine
Here's the thing.
Hanson would be in if Tom Herman took that job?
Trent would go to every.
He'd be in an
Every
existential
game.
crisis.
I would be so mad if he took that job because then I'd have to root against him.
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
It'd be tough. But I think A&M, as much as I can't stand them, that's a great gig to coach at. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, you get to go 8-4 every year and make
you get
$80
to go
million.
8-4. Yeah, exactly. But you got boosters that are willing to shell out millions of dollars
For
to these
mediocrity.
kids who don't even, they haven't even visited your campus, and you got 5 stars committing to you across the country. So, I told Cameron this weekend, I said, you know what? They might have had the best recruiting class of all time, and it's not even close on paper. But when you hire a team of, I guess I should say hire, when you hire a team of mercenaries like that, like when there's one thing to pay a player to come to your program if they're interested and they want to be a Alabama guy, or they want to be a Baylor Bear, or they want to be a Texas Longhorn. It's another thing to just straight up pay somebody to come play for you who has never visited you, who probably does not want to be there. Like Walter Nolan out of Tennessee, number 1 player of Tennessee, going there. Some of these guys from New Jersey never even, like I said, stepped foot on the campus. Those guys, they're going to get pretty disgruntled pretty quickly.
Speaking of that, did y'all see that video of that A&M kid, that freshman driving through that parking garage?
He's an idiot. He could kill somebody.
That was crazy.
Denver Harris, number 1 player in the state of Texas last year.
Flying down the straight shoot of this parking garage and driving like he's playing freaking GTA.
He was drifting in a parking garage, going like 50 on a live stream. So he's live streaming with one hand and driving with the other in a parking garage.
Man, that was wild. So
I
anyway,
mean, this may be a hot take, but that, I mean, he literally, I mean, you could have really, I mean, he could have killed somebody.
Mhm.
He's an idiot. Imagine him hitting somebody, then he just self-incriminates himself on Instagram Live. What an idiot.
that's
Yeah.
right. You're giving 17.
It's like when Michael hit Meredith.
Yeah.
That's one of that's one of those 5 stars down there.
Yeah, I mean,
Brainy kids they're bringing in.
you give an 18-year-old kid all that power, man, it's tough. And I'm all for paying the players still, but that's a lot of, and that's tough.
But I agree. But I think, man, at the end of the day, if you're paying these kids just to come and they really don't care about being an Aggie or being in College Station, they're not going to be very good, in my opinion. They're not going to buy into your program. They don't care about your program.
Well, and we don't need to talk about this too much longer, but I just want to add this: like being at A&M is a little different than being at most schools because it's dadgum weird, and like
Weird.
people who want to be an Aggie, it's great. Like they buy in,
Oh yeah.
and the buy-in there is incredible. But if you don't, like, I had a buddy who played golf there, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I just don't love being an Aggie. It's just kind of weird," and he had a terrible time. Like there's no in between. And so, if, like you're saying, Trent, if you've got people who show up there that don't really care about being an Aggie and doing all the Aggie things, they're not really going to have a good time. They're not going to buy in. And you can't just kind of coast and play football like you can in most schools.
Mhm.
I saw a Nia Smith video saying guys were not bothering at practice, practicing hard. Like, man, it's week 2. Already going through that stuff. That's a problem. If it's week 10 and you're 3-7 and season's not going well, that makes sense. Still sucks, but it makes sense. Week 2, you hadn't played football in 7 months and you're already going through the motions and practice is not going very well. If they don't come out and beat Miami this weekend, they're in a lot of trouble, man. A lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They got Arkansas, Mississippi State on the
And
road.
you just hate to
Alabama.
see it. You just hate to see it.
It's just amazing.
All right, so let's move on. We're kind of running out of time. I wanted to get to some live golf talk, Hunter. We'll talk about that on the next pod. If that's okay. I want to touch a little bit more college football. We talked about losers. We've really hammered A&M.
Good.
What is in the worst shape when Monday morning hit? Because you got West Virginia losing at home to Kansas. They're going to be horrible this year. And hey, give Kansas credit. I told you on the group message, y'all laughed at me. Kansas may be working on something over there. West Virginia, you got Wisconsin getting beat at home. I've told y'all for 2 years, Graham Mertz is the worst quarterback I've ever seen play college football. He's great. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Nebraska losing as a 23-point favorite at home to Georgia Southern. They fired their coach. A&M, obviously what they did, getting beat by App State. And to App State's credit, probably a top 25 team at the end
They're
of
a
the
good ball club. Yeah.
Chase Bryce, good player. And you got Notre Dame. You get beat by Marshall. Marcus Freeman's 0-3. Notre Dame may be going like 5-7, 4-8, which is not acceptable there. So, Hunter, what do you think? Who's feeling worse right now? It's fan base.
So I've got a tie, and for kind of the same reason. That's why I'm lumping them together. I got Nebraska and I got Texas A&M, and the reason is that I'll start with Nebraska. That they used to be one of the powers, right? Like 80s, 90s, early 2000s. They were a really, really, really good team, good program, and then they just kind of went to crap. And then they hired Scott Frost, and that was supposed to be the change, right? They were supposed to come back and be a prominent program again. And it didn't happen. And I think they might be realizing, hey, those days are gone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a tough thing to go through as a fan, right? You just kind of realize, well, maybe we'll just never be great again. And because if they bring in the guy who's going to get all the recruits and going to lead us back to the promised land and he falls flat, I mean, what's next? What are you going to do? Because you're not bringing in a Nick Saban. That guy's not going to Lincoln. Y'all ever been to Lincoln, Nebraska? It's terrible.
Who wants to go?
And I'll kind of say the same thing about A&M is that a little bit different flavor, I guess, but you have this coach that you've dumped all the money in the world into, who's supposed to be the savior. You've got all these excellent recruits, great facilities, and A&M fans are a little bit delusional, I guess, so they may not come to this realization that they may not ever be great. But as an outsider, I'm looking at it like, man, if y'all can't do it with this talent, this coaching, this funding, is it ever going to happen? And that's kind of a lonely place to be. So I'm going to put those two fan bases tied.
I'm going to jump on Nebraska for a second. They fired Bo Pelini after going 8-4 11 or 12 years ago. They'd kill to go 8-4 now. And they ain't been to a bowl game in forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's crazy how far that program's fallen from, the coach they brought in after Pelini that was terrible. Now they got Scott Frost, and that reign was terrible. You're losing to Georgia Southern and Northwestern and all these other teams. It's bad. And the only thing Nebraska had was their prestige of their program. Hey, look how good we've been.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go to school in the middle of the Midwest and go play for a bad program? And how do you?
That hasn't been good in their lifetime. These kids have now been born. They're being born in 2003, 2004.
They know nothing about Nebraska.
They don't remember anything. Yeah.
For their whole life. There's no lore and prestige anymore. And that's how a program can just fade away and never be good again. That's tough.
Well, I hope all these schools like Colorado, Nebraska, even Missouri, when they left the Big 12, they signed their death sentence.
Yeah. And all three
You're no longer playing in the state of Texas. You're not getting these kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least Missouri went to the Southeast Conference. But, I mean, Colorado and Nebraska going and doing what they're doing in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten is so stupid.
never recovered. And Missouri
Never recovered.
They had a couple good years in the SEC about 10, 11 years ago, right when they joined playing the SEC championship. Ever since then, they've been terrible. Colorado hasn't been good forever.
And you know how much Texas footprint they have now? All of them. It's terrible.
So I was going to say my biggest loser and fan base that's in a lot of trouble is Notre Dame. Brian Kelly kind of left in the middle of the night. I know a lot of people really don't like Brian Kelly, but he's a great coach and he wins everywhere he's been. And he's kept Notre Dame relevant for the last 10 years. I know Notre Dame was never going to win national championship probably. They're in the playoffs. They're winning 10, 11, 12 games every year. They're on national TV every week. Now you got Marcus Freeman, who I love and I am rooting for. I do not like Notre Dame, but he seems like a great guy. The players love him. I'm rooting for him, but you've lost every game you coached so far. And getting beat at home to Marshall, who I don't care if they go 12-0, Marshall. That's not accepted at Notre Dame. That's not accepted at Alabama, at Texas, A&M, Oklahoma, anywhere. Like, that just can't happen. And which stinks for them because they thought they played a hell of a game against Ohio State first. Like, hey, Notre Dame might be pretty good this year. And you get beat by, 11? They were down 11 and with like a minute to go to Marshall. That's tough, man.
Tough.
I mean, there's no way they make a bowl game. They still got to play Clemson and USC and all these other, because Notre Dame usually plays a pretty good schedule. Play all these, powerhouse teams in the West Coast. I think Stanford's not very good anymore, but they play Stanford. I don't know. 5-7, 4-8 is very possible for the Irish, which is crazy. And I hate that for Marcus Freeman, but those fans have got to be feeling it pretty good. West Virginia is another one who they had a nice run from, when Geno Smith was there and my man Pat White, and West Virginia's a pretty good program, and they've fallen off ever since. What's his name left there? Trent Holgerson.
Yeah.
This new guy. Now you're getting beat by Kansas at home. I mean, West Virginia, they're going to be the worst team in the Big 12.
Hey, who's coaching Kansas now?
I said they are a dark horse in the Big 12 before the season started.
They may not win a Big 12 game. His name's like Clark Lee or something, Hunter, at Kansas. But they're saying he's in the running for the Nebraska job.
Wait, no, you talking about Lance Leipold?
Lance Leipold. Clark Lee's the Vanderbilt coach.
Yeah. Yeah, Leipold won't be at Kansas very long. He's a good coach.
Leipold, they're saying, has got a chance to go to Nebraska. But anyway. So, I mean, there's a lot of fans. And then Wisconsin, they're a ranked team. They thought they had a big season. As long
They'll
as
figure it out. Then what did they do last year?
I think they won 9 games, maybe.
They'll win 9
Typical.
games.
They got it right back, but until they sit Graham Mertz, they ain't gonna be good at all. Because Washington State's bad this year.
Yeah, but Wisconsin has done this the last 2 years. I feel like where they're not very good, and then they end up with 9 wins at the end of the year. Kind of like Utah did last year. Utah was terrible in the first 3 or 4 games last year. Ended up almost beating Ohio State.
Crazy how much top 25 is moving around this year already.
Oh yeah.
Was. What about you, Cud? Did I get you in there? Who do you think's in the worst shape?
Yeah, well, I was talking about Nebraska falling apart, but yeah, I think Notre Dame is definitely right there with all of them. I mean, like you were saying, all the teams that really just flopped this last week to these programs, even if that teams that they lost to go undefeated the rest of the way, that's just still unacceptable, Yeah, it can't happen, and it's just a bad look for them. And then, some of these programs are in a lot worse spots, but yeah, I mean, they definitely got a lot of stuff to figure out. And like you were saying, I'm a Marcus Freeman fan. I think, to have a young coach like that and the players all buy into him is huge, but man, that's tough, especially the way they hung real tough with Ohio State. I'm thinking, oh, hell, that's a great start to a season for a first coach. I mean, that's right where you want to be. I mean, they didn't win the game, but then they do that to Marshall, and then you're like, well, what happened? Is Ohio State bad, or what was going on? But yeah, I mean, like you were saying earlier, there's a lot more losers to this last week than winners.
And it was crazy, and all those teams kind of lost in the same time frame.
Yeah,
Wisconsin and A&M all went down at about the same time, and then West Virginia and Nebraska got beat that night. Bama was on the ropes in the morning. It was a crazy Saturday.
Yeah.
This Saturday's not going to be quite as much drama. There's not as many good games this Saturday. A couple games I'm kind of looking forward to. That Michigan State-Washington game, I think, is going to be a pretty good ball game.
That'll be a game.
Washington at home. Michigan State's primed for a good year. Now we got Miami and A&M this weekend as well. And that Oregon BYU game at 2:30 might be nice as well.
Those are 3 good games.
Those will be fun.
Hey, Trent, our 2 alma maters are going at it this weekend. Baylor, Texas State.
We're going to cover.
We're going.
Watch out for those cats, Hunter.
I'm
they
worried.
all last year.
I know.
Yeah, I remember being glued to my phone. Like, it's kind of funny because I'm not like, obviously, y'all never hear me be like, oh yeah, go Cats, go eat them up, yeah. But dude, whenever Texas State is playing somebody close, like I am glued to my screen. So I guess it's kind of innate. Like if you're a big sports fan and even if you're like me, you go to Texas State, but you're a big Longhorn, and Texas State's never been good except for my freshman year when they were at 8-4, but had such bad fan attendance they didn't get a bowl game.
That was brutal.
That was bad.
You're right though, Trent, because like I'll check GW's basketball scores during basketball season, and I mean the law school. I don't care about anything.
Yeah, it's like you feel like you don't have any affiliation towards them. Like you don't care. Like you're a Baylor Bear. Like I'm a Texas Longhorn.
Yeah, but dang, if they're playing basketball, I'm like, hey, how'd they do tonight?
Yeah. But watch out for those Cats.
Anybody have any closing thoughts before I get off my chest? What I wanted to talk about something.
Oh no.
Well,
the Chargers win tomorrow. Book it.
Hey, that's going to be a great game, and I'm mad at the NFL putting this crap on Amazon Prime, but that's another discussion.
Get Amazon Prime.
That's
What?
what I said.
Or
Best
Amazon
better yet,
Prime.
just bum off of somebody. That's what I do.
Oh, but just put it on regular cable television. You don't need to put it on these apps and all this other crap. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's just old man Brownie talking. But anybody got anything?
Well,
If you're
I could go on and on about Aggie and Notre Dame misery, but I better not. But I will say this.
watch out for the Roadrunners this weekend.
I know I better be careful.
That's
See,
already
here's the thing too. I don't want to call Texas a winner at all because I've seen this story before. We go out and we play a good team and we play them close, and then by the end of the year we're losing to Kansas at home. It's like I better not count my chickens before they hatch. But what I want to say is I think I'm officially done as a Cowboy fan. I have no I didn't care about the game. I didn't know what time the game started. I didn't know it was football. I didn't know there was Sunday football on.
good.
NFL has completely lost me. I don't care about it. I don't think about it. I enjoy my day. It's the Lord's Day. I take a break. It's amazing. I have a full day to myself because I don't even have to worry about the NFL anymore.
The
to
NFL's
me,
lost its importance to me for sure.
Not to
it
me.
is.
Y'all
It is so weird to me because I used to love watching the Cowboys and keeping up. I used to, I didn't have TV. I used to listen to the radio all the time. But now it's like, literally, I would probably rather go mow the yard than have to do anything with watching the Cowboys.
you're an idiot.
Now the Bills, I'm starting to have some affection for the Bills. So
Oh, here we
If
go.
I start turning to a Bills fan, I may
Jumping
be
ship on the Cowboys.
Jump off the Cowboys train because they may not win a game this year. They're going to be off.
Yeah, I'm. What's today? Today's the 14th. It's September 14th, 2022. I'm no longer a Cowboys fan. Honestly, if we're being honest, I haven't been a Cowboys fan for a couple years now.
Something's wrong with y'all. Ain't nothing better than NFL Sunday in that right cut.
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
There's so many
nothing-
things better.
nothing
That's what we need to do. We need
noon
to do
till midnight
listen,
or till
listen,
10 o'clock.
Next
Couch.
pod, we need to do top 5 favorite leagues.
Oh,
I could do that easy.
we could do top
Yeah.
or bottom 5.
Nessum's got one. It's college football. Everything else you don't watch.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
true.
Watch the
Well-
Astros in the World Series and the Cowboys if they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, honestly, I don't pay attention to the NFL unless they're in the playoffs.
Just
Um,
graceful.
Same
I
thing
have
with
something-
NBA. Same thing with MLB.
Cameron, I have something unrelated that I want to say before you get on your rant.
It's
Is-
not bad. I want to brag.
At some point, I want to have a good throwdown argument about Shohei Ohtani. I want to hash it out.
I'm going to save this for a later pod because we're way running.
No, that's
out.
what I'm saying. At some point, I want to plant the seed.
But I don't understand how it's even an argument if you want to take. How did the poll turn out between Shohei and Mike Trout, by the way?
It was heavily in Mike Trout's favor
How?
because
Shohei,
he's the best baseball player to ever live.
I don't give a damn. Shohei plays both sides of the ball.
We'll get into this later.
He plays both sides. It'd be like if Tom Brady could play safety and play like Ed.
No, it
Reed.
wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It'd be like if Kirk Cousins could play safety about as well as that Diggs fella for the Cowboys could play safety.
Oh my. Okay, we're not discussing this right now, Ratty guys. You're. This is just horrible. We will talk some baseball. The Rags, another failure of a season. Playoff baseball's around the corner. Trent's cheating Astros will be in the playoffs.
Those
Yeah.
Stros.
We'll get some
What's their
baseball. talk.
record, Trent?
He doesn't have. Don't even know who's lead. He doesn't even know where they're
Let me
standing.
tell me how close I am. Let me just guess. I'll say, was there 162 games in a year?
Yes.
There's 20 games.
How many more?
20
When
games.
October's when baseball the playoffs starts, right?
Correct.
I'm gonna say we'll go with 100.
Incorrect.
All right, we'll go with 92 and 56.
That's not that far off.
I was closer.
50.
Oh,
That's so good.
We don't talk about the Astros in this podcast. Anyway, so I want to close with something. Tennessee Volunteers. I wore my checkerboard shirt to work today. When's the last time, Trent, Tennessee has played that bad in the second half, shot themselves in the foot, and still won the game?
probably T. Martin.
A mile away, they're throwing up on themselves, turning the ball over. We've fallen asleep. So, well, we're going to lose. That's just what
Yep.
we do.
Seen that story before.
So I was proud of him. Hendon Hooker is one of the best QBs in the country. Great player. Our defense is kind of shaky. I don't know.
Listen,
Something brewing in Knoxville, Tennessee this year, boys.
They spell Hendon Hooker DAWG. Dog.
He's a dog. Tennessee, Florida. We play Akron this weekend. That game, got to take care of business. We don't want to A&M ourselves this weekend.
Trap game.
Florida next.
Oh, God.
What did you say, Hunter?
The
I
Zips.
said trap game.
They're a 47.5-point favorite.
Here come the Zips.
Almost a 50-point favorite this weekend. I don't think I'm too worried about the Zippy.
Zips money line, baby. Let's go.
Let's go to Florida. Let's beat them. Let's beat LSU in their place. And let's get game day there in Knoxville for Bama week 5.
That would be amazing.
Watch out, cuddling.
Hey,
Something,
I'm just telling you, Cam.
gentlemen. I'm just telling you.
I heard they're already sweating in their boots having to go on the road to Rocky Top.
And elephants, I'm telling you, something's going over there. They better watch out. Anyway, so great to be back, boys. Football season, so good to be back. Baseball season was wearing on me. The Rangers are awful. I need a football back in my life. Glad to be there. Glad the Vols are up to a good start. NFL Sundays are already canceled because the Jets are terrible. Cowboys are done, so we may be trying to find a bandwagon to jump on this year in the NFL.
Bills.
Nonetheless, boys, anybody got anything else? We'll be back to weekly pods, hopefully, if we can get everybody together and stay together. Talk some football. We'll get some baseball talk in here in a little bit. And somehow, some way, basketball is around the corner. We're, 5 weeks out from basketball, too?
Can't wait.
It's sports season, boys. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next week.